Today we're making these 3 delicious dessert cups: cookies and cream, a classic banana pudding, and a peanut butter chocolate cookie crumble. No instant pudding mixes here, we're making everything from scratch. Let's get started. We're going to start off with the cookies and cream dessert. I'm using my food processor, but a gallon Ziploc baggie and a rolling pin is also a good alternative if you don't want to bust out your food processor. Okay, this looks good. Now we need 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. To your melted butter, we're going to add in 2 cups of our crushed Oreos. We're going to give that a good mix. Got to make sure it's all coated in that delicious butter. Once your cookie butter mixture looks something like this, it's time to move on to the next stage: filling your dessert cups. Take your cute little dessert and fill each one with a generous amount of cookie crumbs. We want each cup to have a nice little layer. We're going to use the bottom of another cup to press the cookie crumbs into a nice even layer. This is where you decide if your cup needs more or less. I needed to add a bit more cookie crumbs to mine. Now I know about how much each cup will need. Now we're going to fill the rest real quick. You're probably wondering about how many cups you should fill. That depends on how much of the final filling you put into each cup. This recipe says you'll get about 28 cups. I was only able to get about 24, so aim for around that ballpark. To make the filling, we're going to need 8 ounces of softened cream cheese and 3/4 of a cup of sugar. We're going to whip this up for just a hot second. Next, add in 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Toss in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to mix this until it starts to thicken up, which might take about 2 to 3 minutes. All that's left is to mix in 1/2 cup of crushed Oreos. This is all that's left in my food processor. I'm just going to use it all. It's probably about 1/2 cup, maybe a wee bit more. We're going to give this a quick mix. Now, I'm all about presentation, and if you watched a handful of my videos, then you've probably seen me use a piping bag a time or two. When it comes to projects like this, I think they're such a time saver. It's definitely not required or necessary, but a piping bag can make your dessert look a little more elegant or a little bit more put together. You don't need any fancy tips for this. Just snip off a good bit and squeeze out your filling. I try to keep my piping bag straight up and down like you would if you're making macarons. Steady, even pressure. Now comes the best part. How are you going to display your desserts? These desserts do come with lids, so if you know ahead of time that you are going to be putting a lid on each of your dessert cups, take an Oreo cookie and place it right on top like this. If you aren't planning on transporting your desserts and just want to display them all fancy like, take a cookie and shove it down at an angle like this. Ah, so fancy. And that concludes our cookies and cream dessert. Next is our peanut butter chocolate cookie crumble. Same thing as before, we need a cookie base, which means we need more crushed Oreos. If you don't want to go with Oreos, I bet Nutter Butters would be a great substitute. Again, we're going to need 1/4 cup of melted butter. Add in 2 cups of your crushed cookies. Disperse your cookies. Same deal as before, grab a cup and smush it down into your cookie crumbs. This will give you that nice even layer we're looking for. Let's make the filling. We're going to need another block of softened cream cheese, all 8 ounces of it, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Toss in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix, mix, mix. That looks pretty. Add in 1 cup of creamy peanut butter. Lastly, we need 1.5 cups of heavy cream. We're going to mix this until everything looks nice and creamy and somewhat thick, which might take about 2 to 3 minutes. It didn't take me long. I have my mixer on turbo speed. Again, we're going with a piping bag. If you plan on putting lids on all of your desserts, make sure you leave some room for the chocolate drizzle and some more cookie crumbs. You don't want to overfill your container and then realize after the fact that you can't get your lid on without your filling squirting out the sides. To make the chocolate drizzle, we're going super simple with just 1/4 cup of chocolate chips and 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. Into the microwave for 30-second intervals, mixing in between. Once your chocolate has melted and looks ready to go, drizzle on some zigzag lines over the tops of each dessert. Followed up with any leftover cookie crumbs that should still be in your food processor. And there you have it, our second dessert is complete. If you're curious, these dessert cups hold about 2 ounces. I picked these up from Amazon and I think they come in packs of 100, which is nothing if you're making all 3 of these desserts, and you'll have about maybe 20 cups left over. And they do come with lids. I'll put a link in the description box down below if you're interested in getting these exact same ones. Saving the best for last is our classic banana pudding. Into the bottom of each cup, we're going to add in 1 vanilla cookie. I don't know about you, but I like actual banana slices in my banana pudding. We're going to thinly slice up about 1 to 2 bananas. I did end up using 2 bananas. You'll want to keep the slices on the thinner side since we are working with such a small container. We want to make sure we have enough room for a little bit of everything. To a pot on the stove over medium-high heat, we're going to add in 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour, a pinch of salt, 3 egg yolks, and 2 cups of milk. We're going to give this a good whisk until everything is completely combined. And since we're not using a double boiler and the heat is pretty high, we're not going to leave the stove. This will need constant whisking as we don't want any part of this to burn. Probably after 5 minutes or so, this will start to thicken up. Normally you'd have this in a double boiler on medium heat and it would take about 10 to 12 minutes. I'm speeding up that process by turning up the heat, but if you do that, you definitely can't step away. Must keep mixing, mix, mix, mix. Okay, our pudding is now thick. Take it off the heat and add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix that in real quick. We're gonna let this cool for a bit before we add it into our cups. It is gonna form a little skin on top, but it'll be fine. While the pudding is cooling down, add in your banana slices to each cup. I went with about 2 slices per cup. Once you're ready, add in your pudding. It is pudding, so using a piping bag isn't gonna make it look any better than spooning it in. You might even need to shake the container a bit just to help the pudding settle. Now for the finishing touch. We're gonna take some of those vanilla cookies and toss them into a gallon Ziploc baggie and crush them up. Give them a good old whack. I'm using the back of my measuring cup. Take your smashed cookies and sprinkle on a few onto each dessert cup. Ta-da! And that concludes our classic banana dessert cup. Well, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll have a link down below in the description box if you're interested in these cups and lids. I hope today's video gave you some good ideas. We have a few major holidays coming up and these would be great for either an indoor or outdoor party. If you are planning on having these outdoors, I would recommend keeping them in a cooler, definitely out of the sun. I will also add in a recipe card right here. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all in the next video.